is Shadow and Light, where poetry reclaims the unspeakable, and silence is not the end of the story. I'm Kiore Page, and this episode is titled The Shadow of the Railroads. Today, we walk the haunted tracks of the Transcontinental Railroad, not as tourists of triumph, but as witnesses to what was buried beneath the steel. We honor the Chinese laborers who blasted through mountains, the Indigenous people displaced and hunted from their homelands, and the forgotten verses of survival, resistance, and quiet strength. These are original poems are written to honor them, infused with echoes of their own documented words and lived truths. We remember in rhythm. For the ones who carried stone, inspired by Chinese laborers who built the Sierra tunnels. Your names did not make the history books, but the mountains remember. You carved through granite with frozen hands, hung by ropes into the mouths of stone. They paid us less, they worked us more, they called us ghosts. But you answered with thunder. With every strike, you carved defiance. With every wound, you wrote a line of the railroad's true song. Fireworks lit the skies for the golden spike, but who mourned the men buried in snowslides? Who held funerals for the names that melted into rocks? We do now. We walk this path with heads bowed and hearts full of your invisible labor. They carved through mountains with hands the government tried to forget, but the lands hold memories, and memory does not stop at the edge of stone. Just beyond the tunnels they built, others were losing more than labor. They were losing home. For the land that was taken and the people who never left, inspired by Indigenous tribes displaced by the railroad expansion. Before the Iron Snake, there were songs here. Buffalo trails, painted horses, sacred breath. Then came maps, then came muskets, then came a sound that land would never forget. We watched the horizon change shape, said the elders. The river stopped listening. They laid tracks through our memories, felled our trees, renamed our sky. But we did not vanish. We became wind. We became hawks circling. We became the silence between the rails. And when the whistle blows, we still answer, not in English, not in sorrow, but in resistance. When land is taken and names are erased, what remains? Sometimes light, sometimes the quiet glow of those who refuse to vanish. In the shadows of graves, unmarked, their lanterns still flicker. We follow their glow now. Ballad of the Lanternmen. Inspired by Chinese workers buried in unmarked graves. At night, they say your lanterns still glow in the canyon where your stories fell silent. You lit the paths no one else would walk, dug graves for brothers no one came to mourn. You left no gravestones, just shadows that refused to disappear. They called you expendable, but you made the impossible real. A bridge over death, a tunnel through oblivion. Some say the wind hums your names at dusk, that the steam carries your breath, that every whistle is for the forgotten. You didn't vanish, you became the rails. Two communities, two stories, one railroad built on the backs of both. This next piece is not a poem of separation, but of shared memory, a duet lost in a harmony of strength. The iron doesn't forget. A duet for Chinese and Indigenous memory. One laid tracks, one lost land, but both were forced to bow before empire. One spoke Cantonese in whispers, one sang prayers into the smoke. Neither asked for monuments, but we built them anyway, in verse, in breath, in names returned to air. The iron remembers, the trees remember, and so do we. The tracks stretch on, but they do not only carry trains, they carry stories. And when we listen, really listen, we hear the iron sing. We hear what was buried rise. They wrote no anthologies, just sweat on rails, blood on dirt, songs under their breath. But still, they wrote. And today, we read, in poetry, in reverence, in reckoning. This is Shadow and Light. I'm Kiori Page. Thank you for walking these tracks with me.